How would you like to make your first million? And today you're here for a treat because we have a serial entrepreneur with us, Rob Matzkin, and he's a serial entrepreneur and business advisor with 16 companies built and several exits. And the most important, or one of the important things, is that half of these companies have been tech companies. So Rob, tell us, what are the 5 steps that you recommend to tech entrepreneurs in order to get to the first million, to get to product market fit?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
For sure. So Harry, first off, thanks for having me. Big fan of the name, by the way. That's my grandfather's name. So with you and we got lucky. We're in the same county. You're based in London, and we happen to both. So I'm going to blame you for the rainy weather that we have. So you brought the London weather with you. But I'll tell you this: it hasn't rained in 6 months. Used it. So But so 5 steps, right? So background, I built, as Harry said, built multiple different companies. I advised dozens of companies at this point, raised tens of millions of dollars. And when it really comes down to it, what's going to be the biggest differentiator of your success versus failure is really making sure you have a product market fit. It's what investors for as an angel investor, as a VC. It's the first thing that we look for, whether we have see signals that you're going to get it, right? So that I look for, right, when I'm looking to build a company, well, is a problem to solve, right? If there isn't a huge problem to solve, right, how even find product market fit, or is it even worth finding it, right? So now, huge problem. Now we need to see what's that pain? How big is that pain? How much because if we don't have a big pain that whether we know how to identify it, but more importantly, know how to push on that pain, right? How do we solve that? But in a sales or marketing process, if we don't have a pain that we can actually identify and press on, articulate that to people, it's might as well not be there, right? So we need to find that pain, test that we could really solve that pain, and people really care. And I think this is a really good point. Care about solving that pain. I can't tell you how many people I see going out enterprises and they're like, oh my God, this is the biggest problem enterprises face. And we're reinventing. Yeah, it sucks, but guess what? We have no budget. We don't care. We're dealing without it, right? So see that huge problem, validate that idea, show that people care about it. Then, and only then, do you spend any money on a tech product. This is the time where now you can start to build a minimal. Harry, how many times have we seen people say it's a minimal viable product? It's not a minimal viable, it's their dream product, right? So we really want, what's the smallest possible thing you, again, to validate, to give you money for this pain point. That is your minimal viable product to prove that you're on this actually getting to product market fit. And now if you have a minimal product with people paying you, now it starts to become easier because you're a seed, you're developing capital that you could get financing, right? So you can start getting seed money and start getting this, right? So those are 3 steps, right? But now we want to start getting feedback. We want only after feedback, we want customer feedback to really make sure that the next 1.1 version or 0.1 or 0.2 version of software is really what the customers need going towards their pain, right? Getting their feedback, right? And we're starting to build something that people really want and love. And now people really want and love it. Now, well, how do we deliver insane customer service so we could really start creating this virality coefficient that people start, right? Our net promoter score, Harry knows what this is. Our net promoter score is a 9 or 10. More people are talking about you, right? And people are telling their friends about you. This is the cheapest form of sales and marketing. And now all of a sudden you start having this flow. So Harry, I took a lot of time and answered it the long way around. But those are my 5 to really finding product market fit. And if you do all those things and don't skip any, and here's the thing, sorry, just one more second. If at any point you're struggling, it's not going well, go back to step one, especially step 1 and 2. You really need, if you figure those things out, people are so afraid of, oh, this idea isn't working, this iteration is the idea, this product or the person isn't working. But again, product, you have a product that fits a market, right? So you could either adjust the market, but both really need people throwing money at you and saying yes. So that's my answer.
So it's easy to become a millionaire in tech. You see, Rob, people in this broadcast, 5 steps how to make your first million. 1 out of 5 entrepreneurs that we interview here, 1 out of 6, they are tech multimillionaires. So our audience might have the wrong assumption that become a millionaire in tech is easy. So can you share with me the good, the bad, or the ugly? Because I see, I talk with a lot of tech founders, and oh my God, this thing that you just shared, this MVP, somehow they always forget this M. And rather than become a minimum viable product, they remove the M and they create a big elephant that is going to change the world, that is going to solve, it's going to change the planet. And they use all the money for the family, they remortgage the house, they ask all the money in friends. And after, they haven't even tried to sell it. And then they want you, as a VC, to ask you more money to keep building. So what message do you have for tech entrepreneurs? And is it really that? I mean, you've done it 8 times, so maybe people might think, oh, you know what, it's easy. Because look, Rob, I did it 8 times, tech businesses, and he exited. So, it's easy. So it's really that easy? Or because the high failure that tech space have, everybody see only this. Maybe, of course, we listen to victory stories, and this podcast is what reflect on that. But it's better, Rob, to have a pragmatic reality of what is actually happening. And so, you are amazing to give these answers.
Sure. So, what people hire me explicitly because they realize it's real. And nobody ever hires me at the start, which I'd love if they did because it'd make my life easier, company's life easier, and it'd be smarter too. But they only hire me after they get punched a few times. And, here's the thing. Let's say it was easy. Let's just say it was easy. 1, then everybody. 2, and we're seeing this with AI agents, right? Easy to build like AI agents and people to do that. And a lot of people, now here's the thing. Everybody's flooding into that space. Everybody's doing it because it is easy. And guess what? A lot of those companies are early wins. They're getting some early tractions. The first ones to do it they spent all that money. And guess what? It was easy. And now they're going to be worth maybe nothing. Maybe I'm making it up. Maybe it's a bad example. But if it's easy to do it, it's probably the worst place to do an idea because it'll be so crowded, right? So the concept called the blue ocean strategy was written 20 years ago. I think we've all heard it right now.
I'm a big fan of the book.
Me too, although it has some pitfalls because if you go into a purely blue ocean, well, it's going to be blue for a few reasons. 1, maybe nobody's ever thought about it. Okay, amazing. First, I've done that. It sucks. You knock down all the barriers.
And it's expensive because you have to educate the market, right?
Exactly, because you have to define the market. And then everybody else, you spend all your ammunition and resources doing everything, and then everybody else comes over the top of you, right?
And it sucks.
So it's blue because it's big and nobody thought of it, and then you spend all your resources proving it. Or it's blue because it's really small and nobody gives a heck thing about it, right?
And the case, Rob, like Uber and Lyft, right?
Exactly, right? And then, but there's still, they could still battle each other out, and Lyft still is the loser, but they're still super successful. But then I think a red ocean is, or not a red ocean, excuse me, a pink ocean, pardon me, is really where it's at, a big pink ocean. It's really difficult to define yourself there, but somebody else has proven that there's something here, there's meat there, right? Now, so
That's
many
great
people,
advice. That's great
yeah,
advice. I love it.
thanks. But I just want to finish this thought. So many entrepreneurs, like you said, will spend so much of their resources and their money, right? You don't need to prove your idea is right. You need to find success. So I'll go back to what I said earlier. Solve a big problem, test and look for where the data is going to guide you. Figure out where the money is going to be, right? This is a game of resources. This is a game of finding success. The quicker you could find success and money, the better off you are. Now, I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I've had, leveraged everything I've had. This is not a game. It is extraordinarily difficult. Every once in a while, you see these crazy stories of somebody being successful. But I want to just mention this one thing. We have these huge founders, like I think Bill Gates is the easiest one to pick on. And I'll pick on Bill Gates for a second. We've all heard of him at Microsoft and this hero story. Well, we've all heard the story of him buying MS-DOS and then getting a meeting with IBM and selling them their operating system. The part that nobody speaks about is Bill Gates Sr. was the most influential lawyer on the West Coast, right? Gates Jr., he's brilliant, he's technically savvy, he's ruthless, but he was able to get the meeting and have the $75,000 to buy MS-DOS. And he was able to sit in front of the board, meeting one, and convince them because of who his dad was. It's a piece missing in the story. So every great success story that you try and emulate, remember, it goes through a PR filter. It goes through this whole filter. So you think it's easy, it's glamorized, but that's missing the key details of what the missing component was to be successful. So it's really difficult. If you're starting this for the first time, my biggest advice to anyone is you have a mentor, a coach, an advisor, but you need to be coachable. You need to take advice, and please, please make sure you have people surrounding you that have done it before, right? I happen to make my living on supporting people with that problem, so I'm a little bit biased, but I really, the difference that I see in all walks of life, from entrepreneurs, I'm a big fan of F1. The most successful F1 driver, Piastri, of Verstappen after this week and something else, but they have raced F1 before. Max's dad, Piastri, James Webber raced for it before, paving the way that when they get stuck or stopped, they have great advice. You never do a sport without a coach. Make sure you have somebody making sure that they see from the outside how to really guide you.
Yeah. The someone with your skills, we've been in Silicon Valley. Do you think that there is some action in Miami into the tech space? I hear that they want to make the crypto capital in Miami. I love technology, to be honest. The reason for that is it was my first job. It was as a software developer long time ago. So I worked for a while, 2-3 years, no more than that, because after I went to project management. So and then I started my own business, and 18 years ago I've been being an entrepreneur, of different business. So I understand 100% what you're just sharing here. So why Miami versus San Francisco for someone like you?
Yeah, so there's a few that ecosystem for me being a New Yorker. I've done this in Denver, in Tel Aviv, Israel, in Florence, Italy. From New York, had an acquisition in New York. Living in New York in 2020. I don't know if you remember what happened that year, but there really moved to that was still open. So I went to Miami, and So the quality of life, the ecosystem. I'm a fan of work-life balance. I get to surf, I get to kite, well, mainly kite, Miami. So when I'm done with work, I get to go get to sport. And except for this week that you're here bringing us rain, the weather's always perfect. That's why.
Yeah, today raining a lot. Yeah, Rob, what are the advice you have to tech entrepreneurs trying to raise funds? Because a lot of startup founders are kind of frustrated with the VC. They say, "Well, I have this idea or I have this product," and then they come and tell me, "Harry, these VCs, I have the product, they want traction. When I have traction, they always want something else." And
Yeah.
some of those meetings have been there, and the VC tell to the founder, "Well, come to see me in your next idea." And the founder looking at me and say, "Harry, what this guy means? I want to give me money now for this idea." But what
Yeah.
I'm seeing, Rob, is that the language that the founder speaks is totally different than the language that the VC or the what the VC want in a founder is way far of how the founders are presenting themselves. So how can we fill this gap? Because something is true, like they never built a multi-million dollar business before. So of course they don't know. But a good idea would be to have you on the board, right? In order to close this gap. So what is your idea? How can we close this gap? Because in London, United Kingdom, I'm also involved with a lot of the tech entrepreneur community. I'm trying to help as much as I can, but it's a huge gap.
It's a huge gap, right? So I'll answer
Here
it
in
the long way
US,
around.
I presume it's the same problem we have in
It's the
United
same,
Kingdom.
it's the same problem, and I'll explain why, right? So at the end of the day, it's really simple. It comes down to this, right? If you haven't done something before, you need a guide, right? Because there's a whole language being spoken, right? And there's a language that you don't that's being spoken. So let me just start with this, right? And I didn't even realize that until I was a VC fund that there's certain things like how many fund has a VC done, right? A VC has to raise money, right? They might be on fund one. They might only make 10 investments for that whole and if one of those investments flops or two or three of them, or they don't fund, well, they won't be able to raise again. And it's a big disaster for them. So they're fairly picky. The second thing is investors aren't there to see your product grow. They're not there to see you be successful. They're there solely to make money, return money to them or to their investors, period. And there might be some purpose-driven investors. There's still the number one priority is to make money with a purpose, but it's to make money. So why do they invest? By the way, I gave a whole webinar on this. I took an hour on this one question last week. So I'll try and hit the cliff notes, right? But, at the end of the day, you need to manage a few things. How do I prove to an investor that I'm going to be successful so I can minimize their risk? So how could I minimize and articulate? I'm going to minimize their risk and maximize their return. So how do I prove to them that I could show 100x return on their money from right now and a very low likelihood, which is going to be a very high likelihood, but a lower likelihood of them losing their money? Now, you might think, and you're all in, that you're hot stuff and you're not going to fail. Well, the numbers say otherwise. Just in entrepreneurship alone, 95% of businesses won't last after 5 years. So now how do we mitigate all that? Well, it goes product market fit. And the further along in those steps shows, right? Now, here's the other thing. Believe what leaders say, believe in. Well, investors are going to tell you all sorts of company are going to be, look, I met that goal. But they're not actually saying what they think. They're trying to be polite and cordial back to them. Why do they say no? Because guess what? 1 in 10,000 of you might actually come back amazing that they have to invest in. And they never want to be the guy that said no. Person says maybe if you're successful and they have criteria, then they'll come back. But what they're really all of these other things is, for the most part, is they're just speaking a different language to you. No, I'm not interested. Thank you very much. Right. And as you keep pushing this idea now, right, they're not investing in you. So you really need to spend your time on or interested that do say yes. Now, what does it sound like? Oh my gosh, let me speak to my partner. Oh my, when can we set up the next meeting? Can you send me this information? I need to look. You'll know when they're interested when they're emailing you, right? Because always they're shopping around looking for the next Uber, Lyft, whatever. That's what they're looking for. And until they find it, they'll go on. You'll know when they're interested when they're following up with you. Now it's our job, and really what my job, to get you ready for when you have that meeting, that you go from the way Harry described, I have to bring on my partner. I have to see more information. I can't wait to see. And that's really the difference of what I do. And I do that through Harry's question is, but that really is the difference, guys and gals, really is how do we set you up for success in these meetings? Nobody's here to really just say, I really appreciate you. You know, I'm here's $1 million. Go live out. No. And nobody's dumb enough. Everybody who's that successful, maybe once in a while you'll find an architect, a doctor that has no business acumen, likes the idea and likes you. Now I'm picking on all these professional trades. I'm going to get in trouble. But everybody who's that's you to take a bet on you, it's going to be really savvy. So there's just bring the goods, bring success to them. That's the easiest way of getting success. So Harry, sorry to that question, but
and sometimes they found they have that they are very emotional attached to the product. They invest so much money, okay, and I get it that it's like the baby, but now they're speaking with the investors, and sometimes there is a false belief that the investor, the VC, they're stupid. Think before in the tech space, sometimes you write a piece of paper and you were getting a million funding. Those days are gone. From today now, if those funds, maybe there are people like you that have several exits, that have periods that nobody will or can assess the risk wise. And then the founder comes with a piece of paper with this idea. No, my product is different. You need to listen to me. I'm the big deal here because I have this great product. And they don't know, because just they don't know that nobody cares about the software. Nobody cares about your code. Nobody cares about if you don't prove that the market wants it and how much they're going to pay and how much they are willing to get that, you have nothing, and make you pass easy to solve the question. Someone like you will be key, more important than the product. A lot of tech millionaires that we have here, and this is an example, they are not actually software developers. Their expertise more is in marketing, sales, connections, big networks that can put a product in front of people. And once they know that, they can hire a developer to create a product. They already know the people are willing to pay, how much they want to pay, how many people are going to buy. So, and even the software developers that come to this broadcast, that they are millionaires also, they spend the whole podcast talking about sales, marketing, product market fit, what the clients want, what's the customer experience. You never hear them talking about the great code that they did or about the code. They are more, and that's the reason why it's successful. So, Rob, are you a software developer, or what is your background? How come you become you are one of the software developers that big fan of marketing and sales, or you are pure marketing and sales, and you are the guy that find out what the market wants, and after pay somebody to build it.
Yeah. No, no, it's funny. So short answer is I'm the business guy, right? I'm this chief revenue officer, not the guy, right? So it's always funny.
Wow, very powerful. You see,
Yeah.
good for our tech entrepreneurs to know. And this is the reality, guys. You see, this is guide for real. You know, talking to you, I didn't invent it. This is the reality, Rob, because I don't. I think that people, you know, you're talking about Big Gates or Larry Page and the people of Google or maybe Mark Zuckerberg. They saw those geeks that they wrote a beautiful code, and now everybody that can write code and can do a few things. You were talking about AI. They say, "Wow, gonna
Yeah.
be the future billionaire," and but it doesn't work like this. These are just exceptional cases. I think that Jobs, he was not even a programmer. I think that I mean, to write some code, but no big deal. Yeah, you have Larry Page, you have the guys from Google, you have maybe Mark Zuckerberg, but when you see the tech space in general, the companies that are thriving, look, the Uber guy, by the way, no writing code experience. When you see the general tech space, in order to succeed, I'm saying for tech founders or tech heads at the top, in order for they to have a chance, they quickly that have to understand that they have to align with someone like you, but more important, to listen and to be able uh, to get guidance. So, what are the challenges that you have found in this process when you have this founder that because they write a code that worth anything, and that's true, comes to you and start to dictate to you, look, I'm controlling everything. I'm the guy who take all the decisions. I'm the guy who, I said, listen, you don't, you just might have a vision, but you need to be able to, if you don't listen, if you don't get together, you're not going to be out that much. And that's the truth, right?
Yeah. So I say a lot of things, right? And you struck up quite. There's quite a few different questions. And the first thing is in any business, right? Any tech business, it's yang, right? There is no without the tech. There is no tech without the business. It is the tech's job to fulfill on needs. It is the business's job to find out what those needs are, as much value as possible. I don't need to raise my hand, but anyway. So, so that is really it. Now, every tech entrepreneur I speak to, a few that I work with right now, one's building out a leading edge AI for, and speak to my client. I go, about this case, who we selling to it? What's our price point? What's the user story? How they walk me through that? And he just defaults back to how sexy the product is and how product is. But until you really understand how the customer journey, their user story, how are they going to use it? What's the value prop? How are they going to they're going to save money with it? What pain point are you hitting? And everything else, we don't know how to sell it with, and then we don't have a business, right? Now, every tech founder goes, or every, technical founder goes, you dream about the product, right? Everybody dreams about the product. Everybody knows what they want to build up for the next 2 to 5 years. You've already got it figured out. You've already know how to run with the code. You already engineered everything. It's done. So you don't need to think about that at all. What you need to think about is simple. It's called the business. That's the part that you haven't figured out, right? So that's, and not only where I come in, hopefully an advisor, a mentor, somebody who's been there and done it before, comes to make sure that you are successful and really kicking butt, right? And your gaps are, and again, we're in business not to build something cooler. We're in business to make money. If you want to go build something cool and sexy and have fun with it, it's called a hobby. Good luck. Go do that. If you want to take other people's, you want to be in business, you need to see a return, you need to make money. That's what we're about. The days of having an idea and a cool idea and getting money, those are long gone. Officially, it was officially dead after Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. It was really dead. It's called pre-seed. If you want a pre-seed investment, good luck right now. It's basically done. So that's the challenge that everybody's facing right now.
So tech is different. Sometimes when I speak with tech entrepreneurs, Rob, they are telling me, look, Harry, the tech business are different of the traditional business. But for me, Rob, the more the more I see tech, the more I see they related with the traditional business. It's true that maybe tech has some benefits because you have high evaluation when you exit, and that makes it very sexy and also it's easy to scale. But when it comes to business principle, is a lot of tech entrepreneurs that tell me, no, no, Harry, you don't understand. Tech is different. And I'm telling them, no, it's not different than any traditional business. If you don't have cash flow, if you don't sell your product, it was nothing. But so you tell me your version. Is it different or
So
traditional?
I'm gonna define. I'm just gonna reinvent the question. What difference between a tech business and a traditional business? And it's really simple. Why is software or the world? It's really simple. I have a services company, right? Business company versus my tech companies, right? I service a client hours. I service 4 clients, it takes me 40 hours. Okay, at 40 hours, maybe I'll work 60 hours a week. At 60 hours, now I need another human. Now we go up and we're going linear. The more hours I have, the more people I have. The more people I have. I grow, more people. Now more overhead. Now I'm being bogged down by the amount of overhead. The most extreme example I know of right now is what was it? It was a 24 or 51 people. I think it was 51 people at the end. 5 billion users when they got acquired by Facebook, right? For what, $16. Software eats the world. You build the code, you sell it, and it just goes. So your initial cost, you'll have a ton of costs with no sales, and at some point, by the way, speaking of, investors won't invest when you're like this. You're like this. They won't invest when you're like this. They'll get a little money when you're like this. And invest not when you're here because you're too expensive. They want to invest right where the knuckle is, right? That's where they
This is
want to
what they
find.
should be asking for the money in that point, right?
They don't want to do anything with you, right? So again, that's a effort. Now, to your point, a business is a business is a business. Core fundamentals of business do not change. You need to solve a problem. You need to do your finances. You need to report. Like these corporate, you could get away with some stuff in some of these companies and some AI, some corners, not with any of the reporting, but number of people you have and everything else. But business is business is business. And I'll tell you this, which if you look at, you give me any tech business, there is 90 businesses just replacing a more traditional way of doing. They haven't truly reinvented, and I think in the next 5-10 years between robotics, this won't be the case. But the third industrial revolution of 2.0, we haven't changed anything. We've just improved and made it more efficient, but we haven't changed fundamentally how we do business or what we're now. In the next 5 years, that might not be true anymore. But yeah, business is business. And the more fundamentally true you are to that, the better off you're going to be.
So, Rob, if someone is in love, a tech entrepreneur or an entrepreneur from a traditional business, someone is in love with our conversation and want to know more about you, how people can find you, how this process works, especially
Yeah.
tech fund, how they can find you.
Yeah. So, because Harry, you were so great and brought the rain to Miami. I'm going to offer, if you want to speak to me, I'm happy to just offer you some free coaching for a half hour and see where I can make a difference for you. And Harry, I'll send you over a calendar invite if anybody wants to speak to me. But otherwise, you want to check me out. My email is robmatzkin@gmail. My website is robmatzkin.com. My LinkedIn is /Rob Matzkin. There's very few people with my name. So that's the way you could find me, and I'll share a link that you can book with me. Happy to sit down and give you some support if that's what.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. And for all of you following this broadcast, See you in our next episode. How brave entrepreneurs like Rob break that wall and achieve first million. Bye for now.
Thanks, Harry.
Pleasure.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.